From the consciousness creation capital of the world, Bell Gardens, California, the United States of America, it's the Robert William Abrevaya Show, starring Robert William Abrevaya. This is Robert William Abrevaya inviting you to join me for stand-up comedy by the official comedian for the 2024 elections, a conversation with Maryjane, and the world premiere of the mighty Abrevaya Art Players. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Robert. Yay! Ladies and gentlemen, glad that you're here. I am the official comedian for the 2024 elections because I've inhaled more marijuana than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris put together. Thank you very much. Joe Biden is a rookie toker. You know what a rookie toker is, right? Anyone who has not inhaled enough marijuana to know that marijuana should be legal. Just the biggest problem in Washington today, rookie tokeritis. But there's a cure. The End Federal Prohibition of Marijuana Act. The cure for rookie tokeritis. This light is I apologies if apologies are in order. An apology if an apology is in order, but this light is harshing my mellow, so there may be a bit of a radio vibe. Uh, Theater of the mind. Uh, yeah. Some people call Joe Slow Joe. Of all the Democrats that were running for president, he was the only one who didn't favor in 2020. He was the only one who didn't favor the relegalization of marijuana. He's a little slow. He's a little uh, last century, a little last millennium. Yeah, Joe's a little slow. Hey, if you had inhaled as much hairspray as Joe Biden had, if you had inhaled as much hairspray as Joe Biden had, you'd be a little slow too. Uh, 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 yeah, so some people call him Slow Joe, but other people call him Sloppy Joe. Joe Biden has made so many gaffes that comedian Jim Gaffigan just officially changed his name to Jim Biden again to capitalize on that rising tide of Biden mania that's sweeping the nation. Oh, you want to hear a fun fact? You know that the day Joe Biden announced he was running for president, no dose stock went up 800%. He's good for the economy. Also inflation. Uh, uh, yeah, I would. So some people call him Slow Joe. Other people call him Sloppy Joe. Which is it, Joe? Are you Slow Joe or are you Sloppy Joe? Why don't you just pick a nickname and stick to it? Oh, you know why? Because he's a centrist compromiser. It doesn't have to be Slow Joe or Sloppy Joe. It doesn't have to be taste great or less filling. We'll compromise in the middle. Slow, Sloppy Joe. Now everyone's happy. Is Joe Biden giving mediocre a bad name? I would now do my impression of President Joe Biden. I'm not a smart man. President Joe Biden, thank you very much. Uh, and speaking of people who don't know the difference between a good drug and a bad drug, did you see the White House Correspondents' Dinner last month? More than 2,000 Fauci collaborators in one room. It was a Pfizer wet dream. Joe Biden's has chosen to be one of the guinea pigs in a very risky medical experiment. I hope it doesn't turn out that the guinea pigs are also lemmings. Uh, look, looking for the lighter side of the COVID. Yeah, they said that it was going to be 2 weeks to to flatten the curve. 2 weeks to stop the spread. It turned into 2 years. It's like the guy who wants to have sex with a girl. She's a little reluctant, so he says, "I'll just put the tip in. I'm only gonna put, you don't have anything to worry about. I'm only going to put the tip in." Or as I read in the Guardian, give a guy an inch, and he thinks he's a ruler. Looking for the lighter side of the COVID. It's Y2K. It's Y2K. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. Ah! Oh, sorry. I just had a flashback to 1999, but I'm still here. It's a swine flu. It's a swine flu. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. Ah! Oh, sorry. I just had a flashback to 1975, but we're still here. Yeah, I don't want to brag, but there's a Hooters in my neighborhood, and for a while they were closed during the COVID, and then they put out a sign now open for takeout. I think that's the reason most guys go to Hooters for the gourmet cuisine. By the way, those were air breast squeeze quotes to the degree you can see them, if at all. Copyright 2022, Theater of the Mind. You can picture air breast squeeze quotes. Remember when Super Spreader used to be a good thing? Super Spreader used to be a very attractive woman who with a healthy sexual appetite who would heroically spread her legs and spread love, joy, and happiness throughout the world. Think Eleanor Kerrigan on steroids. Okay, forget the steroids. Just think Eleanor Kerrigan. Hi, El, big fan. Remember, plug's a plug. And I plenty like the plugger. Eleanor used to be the star of Women of Wrestling. She was Eleanor Easy Rider Kerrigan. I think she returns to professional wrestling. She should be Eleanor Super Spreader Kerrigan, or as Howard Cosell might say, Eleanor Super Spreader Kerrigan. In a way, I'm a little like Will Rogers because I've never been to a Chinese restaurant that I didn't like. Literally true, by the way. I have nothing against the Chinese people. I certainly have nothing against Chinese cuisine. But the Chinese government helped us spread the COVID. They put the panda in pandemic. President Trump received some criticism because he called it the China flu or the Chinese flu or something. It's not the China flu. It's not the Chinese flu. The correct clinical, scientific, medical, official, technical term is Kung Fu flu. They put the pen in pandemic. So to commemorate both Tiananmen Square and the Kung Fu flu, the pen in pandemic, it's Elvis singing in Peking. You know both faces, kill no time. You know both faces, kill no time. You the minute, you in the minute, probably in the window, friend of mine. Elvis singing, begging. Very much, very much. And now it's time for Mr. COVID. Please, Mr. COVID. I don't want to go. Listen, Mr. COVID. Please don't make me go. I had a dream last night about a continuing flight. Somebody said the mask, and there I stood with 10 chemicals in my flask. Please, Mr. COVID, I don't want to go. Listen, Mr. COVID, please don't make me go. Have you heard this Gary Knoll guy on KPFK in the middle of the night? Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Knoll, and I know everything about everything. I don't think he ever actually said that. I'm just having fun. Theater of the mind. And now, an ode to the Amazon. Thanks for the oxygen. How lovely it was. And now my impression of former President Richard Nixon the first time he got high on marijuana. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I am the walrus. Can't spell walrus without RWA. And now my impression of Nobel Prize winner Bob Dylan with updated lyrics. Everybody must modulate their endocannabinoid system. Did you hear the big news out of England? Prince Harry admitted they smoked marijuana, or as they call it in England, cannabis. That's right, the young royal, who was third in line to the English throne at the time, admitted they smoked pot. Gives a whole new meaning to the phrase, Your Highness. Oh. Hep, 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 boo. Hep, 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 boo. Hep, 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 boo. Nothing floats that can't be smoked. Nothing can touch that can't be told. Something you can talk, let of you inside. It's easy. All you need is hemp. All you need is hemp. All you need is hemp. Hemp. Hemp is all you need. All you need is hemp. All together now. All you need is hemp. Everybody. All you need is hemp. Hemp. Hemp is all you need, hemp is all you need, hemp is all you need, hemp is all you need. Hemp too, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hemp too, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hemp is all you need, hemp is all you need, hemp is all you need, hemp is all you need. That's the way it should be. Equal time for high time. Smoke the Einstein with Feinstein. This is Robert William Abrevaya, the Robert William Abrevaya Show. Thank you, and please stay tuned for the rest of the program. More, and more. My first guest on the Robert William Abrevaya Show is Maryjane. Maryjane has been, I'm going to put the light down out. Maryjane has been a model, a comedian, a movie star, a videographer, the host of her own show. Uh, Maryjane isn't just a pretty face. She also has nice legs, and Maryjane isn't just a comedian, she's also a movie star. I haven't seen her whole body of work yet, but I like what I've seen so far. We're getting closer to July 4th. I'm reminded that Maryjane is really very patriotic because every time I see her, I feel like raising my flag. Ladies and gentlemen, what more can I say? The lovely Maryjane. Hi, Maryjane. Thank you for being here. Oh, the lovely Maryjane. I can see you well. Oh, very nice. Kisses. Thanks, Maryjane. Maryjane, you've been a model, you've been a comedian, you've been a videographer, you've been a movie star, you've hosted your own show. Um, what would you like to speak about first?
Oh, thank you very much, Robert. Thank you. And I'm absolutely honored to be the first guest ever on the Robert William Abrevaya Show.
Thank you, Maryjane. Appreciate it. And thank you for being my first guest.
Thank you. I'm ready for my questions.
Uh, well, if and I'm sorry, you are correct. I should have, that would be the what correct place to start. To thank you for being my first guest on the show. If an apology is in order, I apologize. Thank you. Always trying to improve. uh, 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 we don't have
Thank you,
the
Robert.
what I to start again, or to restate. You've done many things. You're not just a pretty face. You yes, you've been a model, but yes, you've been an actress. You've been a movie star. You're uh, you've been a comedian, a videographer. Which one of those would you prefer to talk about first?
Um, Videographer.
Okay, so you're like the modern version of a documentarian, or someone's doing video of a staged play or a movie, or what? Please tell me more about videographer. What do you like about that?
Well, I think it's very wonderful that you take a camera and then you record things going on, and then um it's archived for the future of all mankind, I believe.
I like that. You preserve something for all of posterity. Yes, I like that. Yeah. Uh, um, um, uh, Very good. Very good. Um, you've done some. I think it's accurate to state videography of me. What are or of Robert William Abrevaya? What are some of your other subjects?
Well, I film a lot of stuff. I've filmed all different kinds of things. Um, Anything at the Comedy Store. Um, as you know, we've done many, many hundreds and thousands of interviews, and I've also recorded you performing on the stage at the Comedy Store. And I believe I've filmed at least a few of your previous Robert William Abrevaya shows.
Yes, yeah, I must, or I hope you will mind me publicly thanking you for all of your help and your technical expertise, because you've been uh, really the technical person or the videographer for effectively for more than one of of edition of the Robert William Abrevaya show. Thank you very much, and not just that, other. You've shared your technical expertise, which far exceeds mine, on many occasions, and I hope I can explicitly thank you publicly.
Thank you very much, Robert. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And and you've also been a model. I remember you had meant you were a model. You've been a model for among other things. You were a model for High Times.
Yes, I've been in High Times magazine quite a few times, many, many times, and I'm very proud of that.
You've been in High Times more than once. I know you've been in at least once. I saw you. You were like, it was like a medical marijuana story or something, because you were dressed up as a very enticing looking nurse.
Oh, yes, that was my last appearance in High Times, I believe, because that was for my candy bar. That was with my candy bar from one of the first medical marijuana candy companies. It used to be called, it was Bliss and then Tainted Bliss, and then they went out of business. But I had my own medical marijuana candy bar, and I told them exactly the flavors I wanted to make it. And they put my picture on the front, and it was best
Yes.
selling for a few years.
Did you say it was the best selling for a few years?
Yes, it was best selling in Los Angeles for at least 2 years. It won awards.
Wow. Yeah, perhaps if you there could be a market, there could be a market still for that.
Well, yes, but I didn't make it. I had nothing to do with cultivating and or manufacturing.
Interesting. Yeah. And they there was as I recall, a very nice visual of you on the front.
Yes. Did you try one of those, Robert?
My recollection is that it tasted good and that it had an enjoyable effect.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, thank you very much. Uh, so now, is that part of you being, at least to some degree, a marijuana activist over the years?
Yes, I believe that I have contributed to the marijuana politics and policies. I first do remember, kind of on accident, when I was in Northern California, I believe skipping summer school. We were wandering around downtown Monterey and we smelled the wonderful aroma. And so we went to hunt it down because that was before stores, and we didn't, it was hard to find. And I found a couple of people on the top of a parking garage from, I believe, the Rainbow Gathering. That was a group affiliated with Jack Herer,
Oh,
but he wasn't there. And
oh,
we asked if we could partake, or not to be intrusive, and we weren't begging. We just asked to. We said we enjoyed the aroma, and they welcomed us over and proceeded to share as long as we listened to their story. And basically, they enlightened us on the medical properties and the responsible use of, and the benefit of the legality. And they gave me a petition and asked me to go wander around and get as many signatures as possible. And I believe that that was a prequel to cannabis becoming at least medically legal in 1996, because this was just a few years before that. And then also, High Times was working on expanding part of the let's see, I guess the expanding their range in the magazine to include pro pot pinup models on a monthly and yearly basis. And
very nice.
so I was the test market for that, because
Oh,
I guess in years past, it wasn't like having a pretty girls or young girls might have been maybe against some of the causes, with High Times from the 70s and 80s, and so by the late 90s, the very, very late 90s, they decided, well, gee, maybe it won't be viewed as sexist to have a proper pinup model with cannabis and large amounts of cannabis or smoking cannabis to encourage more of a widespread acceptance. And so I was the test pro pinup, pro pot pinup.
so you're really part of the relegalization of marijuana movement and history. You contributed your pulchritude to the cause.
Yes, and I was able to host the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam, which was absolutely a dream come true. I'd never thought in my wildest dreams that I would get to do something like that. And that was the November before the first medical marijuana or medical cannabis store opened in Los Angeles, which the first one that opened was at across from the former Charlie Chaplin Studios, currently Jim Henson Studios. And it was a little yellow house turned into a store that I believe was Charlie Chaplin's office or writing house back when he owned the studio. And that opened January after the Cannabis Cup I hosted in Amsterdam, which I believe was 2004.
Well, congratulations and thank you for your contribution. Now, did I understand you correctly to say that in or about 2004 in Amsterdam, you were the hostess of the Cannabis Cup?
Yes, I was. It
Does
was
that mean
held because,
you were not just like the you were not just like Miss Cannabis, the pretty girl. You were also like the MC or something like that. Were you introducing the speakers and things?
yes, I was the official hostess of the Cannabis Cup. So every night they had speakers and performers and musical acts at a place called I think, Melkweg or something. I forgot the name of it was a strange, it was a warehouse with a stage in it, a very large cement building, and they had a massive venue. And so I was able to um, perform and do some comedy. And I did a magic trick. I was gifted a magic box that was photographed with um, Walt Disney, Orson Welles, and one of the most viewed magician ever, Mark Wilson. And so I was gifted this wonderful little magic trick box prop. And so I did my magic trick with that box. And but the mistake I made, because I couldn't bring all my props from California, so I had to rely on them to supply me with some. And I don't want to give away the trick, but a magic trick, kind of like a joke, has a punchline. So the grand finale of the trick was me making joints appear and flinging them into the audience. But what I was not aware of is the prop that the joints that I was given were in hard plastic containers. So with no rehearsal, all of a sudden, surprise out of nowhere, the audience, to say it lightly, was surprised, pegged in the head with plastic objects being flung.
Ah, so perhaps if it had been rehearsed once, that problem could have been avoided.
Yes, and I didn't know it would be hard plastic containers. When I envisioned it, I thought it would just be harmless, like throwing joints into the audience. But I didn't hear too many complaints, but and there were no officially reported injuries. But I guess, yes, I belted the audience with a surprise of hard plastic inanimate objects being flung at them.
But there were actual joints inside.
Yes, yes,
So you were
yes.
sharing good herb with them. No, no,
Yes.
no bad intention.
No bad intentions and no reported injuries.
Good, good. I'm very glad to hear. So did High Times cover their own event in Amsterdam? Like, did it get a page or two in High Times in next month's issue?
Yes, yes, they did briefly mention me. It was the Conspiracy Cup, and a lot of stuff didn't go their way. One of the organizers um wound up being detained when they were transporting pounds and pounds and pounds from one venue to the other, and they were legally able to get out of it. And it was the Conspiracy Cup for multiple reasons. Um, and the video never came out. They had me do a lot of interviews on the street and announcing different things, but the video never came out. And I also hosted a boat tour down the canals, because Amsterdam has all those canals, multiple waterways all over. And so it was very fun, but it was quite a hectic, crazy ordeal.
So that sounds like a kind of experience that might lead you into stand-up comedy. Did you perform stand-up comedy for the first time in 2002 or 2003, somewhere around that?
You met me April 17th, 2003.
April 17th, 2003. Thank you for knowing that date. So that
Oh,
so
no,
did
my
we meet
mistake. My mistake. April 14th.
2003?
Yes, because it
April
used to,
4th.
no, 15th. What was tax day?
I presume it was 15th, but sometimes they change it around.
No, no, it
Sometimes
was
it's a few days
April
different.
15th. April 15th on tax day was the first Monday night I made an appearance at the Comedy Store.
On or about tax day in the 15th of April in 2003. So and that was that was both the first time that we met and also the first time that you performed stand-up comedy.
I do not believe I performed stand-up comedy that very first night.
You were just a guest on the show, and you might have answered a question or introduced yourself or something, but you didn't have an actual act that you did for 3 minutes.
Exactly. I did start an act very, very shortly after that. I started stand-up comedy probably within a week or two of that.
So maybe at the second or third or fourth show that you were actually in, you did your first stand-up comedy. You made your stand-up comedy debut.
Yes, I started developing what it meant to perform and what type of style of performance and how to write jokes and personalize them. I started very shortly after that. Yes.
Do you recall your first joke?
Um. It might have been the bear joke. I don't remember.
Do you want to retell the bear joke if that's the first one that you could, if that may have been your first, or at least that's the first one you can think of at the moment?
That very well might be. Would you like me to perform it for you?
If you would, if you
Okay.
like to, would you like to? I'd be interested in hearing it. I think others would be. Yeah, please do if you would.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, by round of applause, who here would like to hear a story about my best day ever? Thank you. This one day, I went to the forest and um there was a hunter there, and I stayed up in the little wooden box smoking joints, and the hunter, he took his rifle and he wandered through the forest this way and that way. Doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. And then he saw a bear and he took the rifle and boom! Shh! Pow! As he was waiting for the smoke to clear, there was a tap on his shoulder. Rawr, bend over, I'll maul you to bits. And all of a sudden, rawr, 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 the bear was fucking the hunter in the ass. Rawr, 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 rawr. And then the hunter went away, and in the distance, I saw Bambi, and there were bunnies. And then the hunter came back. This time, he had a Tommy gun with a laser scope, and he wandered through the forest, this way and that. Do 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 do. And then he saw the bear, and he aimed the Tommy gun, and the laser was right between the bear's eyes. Ba 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 ba. As he was waiting for the smoke to clear, there was a tap on his shoulder. Rawr, bend over, I'll maul you to bits. And all of a sudden, rawr, 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 and there was blood squirting profusely out of his love handles. Rawr, 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 rawr. And then the hunter went away, and the sun was just starting to set over the beautiful mountains in the distance. A golden glow was cast all over the beautiful landscape with the tips of the trees. And then the hunter came back. This time he had a bazooka, and he limped through the forest, this way and that. Do-do, ba-doo, 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 ba-doo. And then he saw the bear, and he aimed the bazooka, and boom! Shh! Pow! As he was waiting for the smoke to clear, there was a tap on his shoulder. Rawr! But I don't think the hunter was a very good hunter. I think he just liked bear cock. Thank you. Thank you.
That was the first joke that you ever did?
I believe so, yes.
Wow. Do you still do that on stage?
Occasionally, not too much, because with so many shows being recorded and broadcast live, I don't necessarily want to repeat the same joke over and over and over a million times for the worldwide internet's consumption. But today they saw a different version because I'm not standing on stage.
So you've done it over the years. You've done some version of that many times, but you don't. It's not a regular part of your act currently.
Well, yes, I stopped performing it on a regular basis because I didn't want to repeat. You know, when I started comedy, people said it'll take 20 or 30 years for you to develop like an hour of material to
Not
sell to a
necessarily.
network for a special. But then about a decade ago, with YouTube's popularity and social media, maybe 15 years ago now, then all of a sudden it turned into somebody will do 5 different open mics and bring their own camera, and then they're releasing their comedy on the internet. And with a lot of shows being recorded and live streamed, it turned from practicing your stand-up with the goal of many years from them putting together and selling a comedy special to a major network or to some type of TV or movie outlet. Then it's live and instant. So the writing new jokes and having a whole new set every week or month or appearance changes the philosophy and dynamics of cultivating material.
Do you have a new or recent joke that you've begun, say, in the last month or sometime in 2022, either your newest joke or a recent joke that you'd like to share with us?
Let me see. I think I have my note paper close. 1 second. Here we go. Gaslighting 110 years ago was a menial but honest profession. Now, the definition is much more nefarious. Instead of a useful blessing in the streets, it has penetrated life, media, politics, and corporations. As an old saying goes, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So I propose to you, what came first, the gaslighter or the gaslightee? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maryjane. When you talk about gaslighting, for some reason, I'm brought to mind the attempt to make mandatory experimental injectables a uh, a universal part of the United States and the world, and I guess gaslighting is one way to say it. There's been misinformation and disinformation, and a lot of money to get people to think a certain way. But just because they convinced you to take 1 or 2 injections doesn't mean that you have to let them convince you to take a second or third injection. please look carefully at the evidence.
I do agree that that is one of the more recent topics that the media, global media, has gaslighted. I absolutely agree with that, and it certainly has become a habit, I would say, with the media with multiple topics to use gaslighting strategies to confuse and upset people.
Well, I'm hoping people will be more aware now and in the future. Maryjane, I was hoping now I'm going to try to, well, I want to at least briefly get the visual right again here so that we can do, would you let me know how the visual is with the lighting? Is that acceptable there?
Lean in a little bit more. That's
Or
better.
raise it.
Yeah.
How is that?
Oh, I can't see you at all.
Really?
Uh-uh.
How about there?
No. I can see your shirt. I can see your, there you go. I just can't see your eyes. You have to lean down a little. There you go.
You see my eyes now?
Uh,
How about that?
that's good.
Like there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I thought this might be time for us to take just a brief break from our conversation, Maryjane, and have and hear a word from our sponsor.
Oh, perfect.
Our sponsor is Mike Emerald, the Feel Good Plumber.
Wow, you have a nice aroma. Who are you?
I'm Mike Emerald, the Feel Good Plumber, and I'll unplug any drain for $99.
But you haven't seen it yet.
Don't play coy with me, lady. Every guy in the neighborhood has seen your drain at least twice. I'm Mike Emerald, the Feel Good Plumber, and I'll unplug your drain like it's never been unplugged before. Contractor's license number 69696969. We're now back to our regularly scheduled show. Hi, Maryjane. Thank you for doing that. That was the lovely Maryjane in the world premiere of the mighty Abrevaya Art Players.
Bravo, bravo.
Thank you so much, Maryjane, for being my not just my first guest, but also my first guest on with the mighty Abrevaya Art Players. Thank you so much, Maryjane. That's fun.
Thank you, Robert. And I must say, I have known you to be a brilliant stand-up comedian and the host and star of the Robert William Abrevaya show. But I don't know if everyone out there in the world knows you are also a very talented sketch writer. That was a lovely, lovely sketch. Thank you.
Thank you, Maryjane. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thank you for the good words. I'm going to return to more of a radio mode and not excessively harsh my mellow visually, and we'll continue to speak with lovely Maryjane, and we'll be able to see the lovely Maryjane, who is much nicer to look at than me anyway. So we'll continue to speak with Maryjane. Thank you again, Maryjane. Please excuse me for a moment while I put this out. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, I can see you. Okay, yeah, yes, Maryjane. So, thank you so much. So we've talked about your uh working for the relegalization. I've been working for the relegalization of marijuana in a formal way since at least 1975, when I worked on Normal versus Davis National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws versus then Los Angeles Police Chief Ed Davis, to prevent enforcement of the marijuana laws here in Los Angeles. And we've made good progress, but in 2020 there were still more than 350,000 marijuana arrests in the land of the free and the home of the urine tested. So I'm hoping that people, even though we, like in California, you mentioned that before the first opening of the first dispensary, we've made good progress, but we haven't quite yet finished the job. So I'm hoping people will enjoy the progress we've made, but not be apathetic, and try to continue to concentrate on getting the job done.
Yes, I do think that California made some great strides, but quite a few serious mistakes with their um, recreational legalization of it. It seems that, as people had feared going back decades, it served right up to the corporate phenomenon, cutting out any small quality businesses, and the amount of waste that is being utilized with the dispensaries. Um, I always thought that hemp and cannabis, there had many uses to prevent global warming, to help nature, and like, for example, possibly hemp instead of gasoline, hemp instead of newspapers, and the whole variety of other benefits. But it seems like, on one hand, supposedly the legalization for recreational marijuana should help California taxes in some form, but I believe that they are having some issues with corruption in that. But the worst crime is the amount of packaging that they use simply for a pre-roll joint, and or for flowers in a jar, or edibles and tinctures. They not only have a container, but then they have another container. Sometimes they've tripled up containers, where you have a layer of plastic followed by another layer of plastic, then heavily printed cardboard. And so I think, with as many strides as it could go to help the environment, I think that they are purposely causing a lot more damage with the possible energy of having to manufacture and or recycle, if it's even possible, the containers for simply consuming something that should just go up in smoke and vanish within a matter of seconds, minutes, or however someone would like to consume it.
So you find that the packaging is wasteful, in the sense that it could be done with less.
Exactly. And some places, I will commend some stores, have like a basic glass jar, which can be easily recycled or reused. And some of the drinks are in a simple can, like a soda can, and that is acceptably environmentally friendly. It's just the heavily printed and multiple layers of paper and cardboard and printed material on top of multiple different types of plastics. That is where I'm a little concerned.
I'm uh, I'm I'm concerned about the environment as well, and they 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 suggested many years ago, Normal and I guess elsewhere, the relegalization of marijuana, which would mean including hemp, uh, could reduce deforestation and reduce as hemp plants grow, they liberate oxygen. Um, an ode to the Amazon. Thanks for the oxygen. Uh,
Bravo, bravo.
thank you so much, Maryjane. Uh, so, uh, what else would you like to speak about? We've talked about. Oh, so that medical marijuana appearance in High Times, what was your final one? So about you were on a number. You were in a number of other appearances prior to that time.
Yes, yes. My first photo shoot was a red bikini by a lovely swimming pool, consuming a uh, a joint, and so that was reprinted a handful of times, and then I did multiple other photo shoots. I would say I was at least in minimum 10 magazines.
Wow, that's great. What was that first one like? What 95 or something like that?
No, no, I wasn't old enough in 95. I believe it was um closer to 99.
99. Let's see. Do you have copies of those still to this day?
Yes, I do. I don't know. I thought I had something here. Let me see.
Oh, yeah. Okay. If you like, I was, uh, I, I, I was going to, I was thinking, well, that there would be uh, an interesting thing to see if it's, um, oh wow.
Here's my candy bar. Oops, there we
Oh,
go. Oops,
there.
I'm blocking my face. Here's my candy bar
Okay.
sticker.
Cool. And the name of it was Maryjane, right?
Yes, Maryjane. And it looks like, let me see.
We just saw part of marijuana relegalization history. Uh,
This was the first.
this was your the first time you were in High Times.
Yes.
Wow, very nice, very nice. That's all FCC legal, all in good taste, very nice. And so you were presenting you were using your pulchritude to uh, help relegalize marijuana and was that a High Times centerfold?
Well, it wasn't a centerfold. It was just a centerfold is the middle of the magazine,
Or
two
that's just
pages.
marijuana. That's only marijuana, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but was this 2 pages? Was it?
No, that was one page. And
This
here's a
is.
later one.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing these
That
with
was
us,
in
Mary
the
Jane.
this was, I believe, 2003, and they had 10 pages in the best of High Times that year.
I couldn't on my screen here. I couldn't see that clearly. Was that a joint in your hand? I only saw it. I wasn't sure.
For the first one or the second
No,
one?
that last one was.
No, that's like five, one, two, three, four or five the tops of it, the
Oh,
colas.
you're holding a part of it's part of a marijuana plant.
Oh, there's five big buds.
Oh, well, I see. I see. I saw that you were holding something, but I couldn't tell what it was. Okay, thank you for that. Wow, wow. See, that's great, Maryjane. I thank you very much for all of your contributions. Very nice, and a part of High Times history.
Yes.
Very nice, very nice. So, so Maryjane has been a model. She's been a movie star. She's been a videographer. Um, she's been a comedian. That's all very nice. Maryjane, I want to thank you very, very much for spending this time with us. Before we finish, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, or any final message you'd like to leave us with, or what would you if what would you like to say?
Well, Robert William Abrevaya, I will say it has been an absolute honor to be your first guest ever on the Robert William Abrevaya Show. And I would like to say that I look forward to seeing you every single Monday night, the headliner of the potluck at the world famous Comedy Store.
Thank you so much for saying that, Maryjane. I would like to thank you very, very much for being my first guest on the Robert William Abrevaya Show, and also the first member of the mighty Abrevaya Art Players. Thank you so much, Maryjane. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank Maryjane. I would like to thank you for choosing to perceive the Robert William Abrevaya Show. This has been the Robert William Abrevaya Show. I am Robert William Abrevaya. Thank you and good day.
Show your face.
Oh, yes, Maryjane is correct. This has been the Robert William. I would like to thank Mary. Oh, Maryjane is correct. Maryjane, can my face be seen?
Yes.
Maryjane, thank you again for being my first guest on the Robert William Abrevaya Show, and thank you for being my first member of the mighty Abrevaya Art Players. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for choosing to perceive the Robert William Abrevaya Show. Thank you, Maryjane. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the Robert William Abrevaya Show. I am Robert William Abrevaya. Thank you and good day. Wow, I'm sorry. Thank you and good day. More, encore.